Iglesias goes down, who's their long-term, I mean, he's speaking of depth. If he goes down, who's their long-term answer at shortstop?
Machado.
Vilas can fill
Vilas can
it.
play a little, but I don't know. They have one that's I would call a major league shortstop.
See, I personally think Iglesias, they talk way too much about his fielding. I think he needs a hit. I mean, 20, 25, 30 RBI is not enough for me. Not at the shortstop position. He needs to hit more. He needs to drive in more runs. I don't care if he's batting 1, he's batting 9. He needs to drive in more runs. This guy, he gets way too much praise in his town for really not doing much. Other than stirring the dugout.
Yeah, and fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
He makes some great plays, but you can't deny.
No, of course he does. Yeah, of course he does.
Although, let me ask you guys both this theory though. Do you guys think that shortstops until the '90s, until the '80s with Alan Trammell and Cal Ripken, were really regarded as light hitting shortstops and light hitting guys? And Jacoby Jones, the other Tiger infield prospect, who is going to be suspended for 39 games because of drugs, and actually it was because he smoked pot, nothing to do with PEDs or anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's all it was, and which I think is kind of BS in a way because major league players can have drug tests and actually can smoke pot. The minor leagues can't.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I just learned that this week. It was we were doing research for the Tigers SRD and I found it interesting. But gentlemen, guys, look, the Tigers right now, I don't expect the shortstop to hit 20 home runs and 90 RBIs. Those days are gone. If a guy can hit 260, 270, which he has, and I will get a little bit about what Freddie thinks about this, but I think he's doing fine. I think he just sometimes goes for the flash too much than the regular play, but now with the new rules, and I don't know if you guys saw the rules about the neighborhood play. The neighborhood play is gone. So that flat like that, he has to touch the bag. His legs are going to be at more risk because he has to tag the bag, which is really stupid if you think about it. Because if now the runner can't slide into the guy, but how is he going to make the neighborhood play if he can't have to tag the bag? There's eventually going to be some sort of contact. But what do you expect out of the shortstop position? Do you expect a power hitting guy, or do you expect the guy that could just hit 260, 270, get on base?
Me personally, I'm all right with a guy that can hit, 260. I think the shortstop position is where you put your best defensive player, in my opinion. So it's not always going to be the best hitter, but if you can provide that defensive wall, so to speak, you're in a good spot. Iglesias has that. He's definitely a very streaky hitter. And I think if he starts to struggle, I wouldn't mind seeing Avilas go in there because I think he's a better batter.
I think Avilas and then getting in the outfield, Maben, those two guys, I think in Salton and Rocky, those 3 pickups for the Tigers, I think were huge for them.
Big depth.
Big depth, because everyone talks about pitching and bullpen, but they never had a bench, man. It was always Don Kelly.
Oh, Dandy Don.
Yeah, Don Kelly and
we're going to speak bad about Don Kelly today.
and Gerald Laird. That was their bench. Now you got Salty, Maben. I think Maben's going to start more in center field, but even goals coming off the bench would be a big plus for them. And Avilas. I agree with you. I want to see a little bit more of Avilas. And Roger makes a point of back down shortstops other than Cal Ripken and who's the other guy? Alan Trammell hitting and fielding. But back then too, the third baseman was huge. You don't see the third baseman like before. You had Mike Schmidt, George Brett, Greg Nettles,
Butch Robinson,
Wade Boggs, guys like that. You don't see the third baseman anymore hit. So I agree. The defense. I think it's a big year for Iglesias. I go back to the same thing. I think he gets so hyped in this town, he hasn't really done much other than being hurt, starting fights, and I think he needs to step up because I think it's huge for them. Defense up the middle, man. In every sport, defense up the middle is what wins, man.
Well, and I would agree. You said third base is a huge spot, and that's somewhere the Tigers I think have been very streaky. Castellanos, sometimes he's got a hole in his glove. His batting is improved, I would say, but his fielding still is kind of sketchy.
Yeah, you won't see him much in the 8th and 9th inning because Osmus always takes him out. You're going to see Romine in there. You might even see Avilas there.
Yeah. Well, I'd be interested to see if they put Miguel over there.
Yeah, not in the 8th, 9th inning.
I don't think he's quick enough, so to speak. When those fastballs come down the line, those might be a little tougher for him. Then at first,
Miguel wasn't that bad at third base. If they never signed Prince Fielder, he still might be our third baseman.
That's very true.
So
that's true. Yeah.
Well, when what gets me about Castellanos, and we're talking about defensive issues in the infield, you know, we have Omar Vizquel as a
Yeah,
coach.
just put him at short.
You know what I'm, yeah, well, yeah, no joke. But I would hope that, you know, going into Max's third year, you can learn a little bit from arguably one of the greatest defensive shortstops of all time. I mean, I'm always an Ozzie Smith guy, but, and to go, no, to go back on Iglesias though, too.
He was drafted by the Tigers, Ozzie Smith.
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
he was drafted
Yeah,
by
he
the
dropped the
Tigers.
ball on that one. He's one of my faves.
He didn't
But
sign with us though.
Iglesias, I love him. And if correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he hit like dang near close to 300 or something? A couple years back on his when his first stint when he first started Iglesias.
Oh
He
yeah,
was
he
like
did.
299,
Yeah, between Boston and Detroit, he was bad.
Yeah.
300,
So and I'm not a big. I don't expect big numbers out of a shortstop. You know, hit consistently. Give me 265, 270. Use the glove. You know, I follow up on you completely there. I love to see Iglesias make all those stellar plays. I think he's worth the price of admission when you show up to the ball. I'll go just to watch him play. And I think it looks like he's dallying or, dicking around out there because he's so damn good. He knows he can make the plays. He may hot dog a little bit, but I tell you what, that's kind of what puts butts in the seats. And I enjoy it. I mean, he's not doing backflips out to the shortstop like my man, but
Give him
you
time.
never know. Yeah,
Give him time.
you never know, dude. So I'm expecting big things from him. I'm definitely not worried about short. But Castellanos at third, he needs to step up, dude. This is year 3, and like I said, with Vizquel as being a coach, dude, I think he would learn a little bit more how to defend.
I think Castellanos is a long-term first baseman, in my opinion. Maybe not here with the Tigers. If he goes elsewhere, I think he's a first baseman at best. Defensively,
Does he have the bat though?
he's got the body to be a third baseman. He's big and tall, but I don't think he's a long-term defenseman at third base.
Guys, he was top 5 in the American League in third base percentage last year. In terms of
Fielding?
percentage, yeah.
He was.
That's true.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, and so for him, it's just the bat to come around and be a little more consistent. And you look at a guy who,
The only problem with that stat, though, he wasn't in the 8th and 9th inning in a lot of games when the pressure was really on.
Good point.
So
Yeah.
that's a good point, Freddie.
he might have not been in that top 5 if he was in the 8th, 9th innings.
Crunch time.
Well,
Yeah, crunch time.
he seemed like he made errors at the worst possible times
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Boneheaded plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and you look at a guy who last year came off the 255. He had 15 home runs, 73 RBIs, and a guy who really last year offensively struggled at times, and he.
Aurelio Rodriguez is not walking through that door.
Yeah, there you go. Or who was the guy that we signed when Comerica first opened? Dean Palmer.
Rest in
Dean
peace.
Yeah,
Aurelio-
yeah.
That
Dean
guy.
Palmer.
That guy could pick it. Roger probably remembers.
Yeah. Rodriguez also was a big guy who hung out in Mexican quite a bit. He was a big pillar of the community down there, and he will be missed. And how he died too was very tragic as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but Nick Castellanos, a guy last year, 255, and gentlemen, he's 23 years old. So year 3 of a guy who's probably coming into his own. I expect big things from him. I'm going to start over here with
Tigers ball boy.
Tigers
And-
ball
and,
boy.
in fairness to Nick Castellanos, they drafted him as a shortstop.
Yep.
They moved him to left field. They moved him to third base because of the Prince Fielder signing. He got moved from third base to left field in the minors. Then he come in as a third baseman after he was playing left field. In fairness to him, so and he's 23 years old.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead. I mean, do you think this is the year I think he's going to bust out a little bit more?
I think this is the year he needs to bust out a little bit more, or he might be finding himself on a different team or in a different league. Who knows? I would love to see him. Well, I think when he hits well, he's very streaky, but when he hits well, I think offensively he can be very productive. Defensively, I agree with you when you said he's got one of the best coaches that he could possibly have, so that needs to improve. It just has to.
Yeah. And then you look at, they did sign Corey McGee from, he was last year was in a little bit in Miami. He was signed with the Giants, and he was let go by midseason. And in the press, he was saying he put a little too pressure on himself, come back to San Francisco, and it looks like he'll start the season in Toledo, where the Tigers, again, like a third baseman, across the system is bad. Infield was bad, but even at third base, it was very glaring, as they don't even have a guy.
they had a guy Wade Gaynor for a while.
Yeah.
He was doing good about 3 years ago, and then he just kind of plateaued.
Yeah.
And
Even it was like 205. Yeah, he
Yeah.
couldn't hit
Yeah, he was doing well though. He
Yeah.
was hitting 300. He's hitting 25 bombs, and they moved him up, and then he just plateaued, and he just never got it back.
Yeah.
There's another guy too. I can't think of his name right now. It'll hit me, but Wade Gaynor, he's the guy that sticks out to me. You know, in fairness to Nick Castellanos, and I don't want to feel like we're all bashing on him, but you know, he did the interview all year long with 105.1 with Matt Derry, and he mentioned something that was kind of key. When he was in high school, he was a star, you know, and he batted third and fourth all the time. He mentioned that he's got to get used to batting sixth and seventh, you know, going from his defense to his offense. He said it's been a big adjustment for him going down to sixth, seventh, because you know
his ego, or
it could be his ego,
right.
but he was used to being in the power slot.
He's the man.
Yeah,
But who
and
is it though, Freddie?
so,
To me, you know, like if you're a major league ball player,
but he was a first round draft choice.
yeah.
And then, you know, he's 23 years old. First round draft choice, 23 years old. You know, he might have been up a year earlier for what we go back to that Prince Fielder signing. You know, he got jerked around in all these different positions. I think he's still adjusting, batting sixth, seventh, and eighth. He might even bat eighth this year. You never know what's going to happen with him. But I think him batting sixth, seventh, eighth right now is good for him because they won't be talking about him much this year. There won't be much talk about Nick Castellanos this year.
Hopefully not.
No, I think it's going to be all on Justin Upton and the Maben and all the signings,
Well,
which
maybe
will be
that's-
good for him.
it's good to take the pressure
Yes.
off. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But eventually, Nick Castellanos needs to be the guy that is the third, fourth hitter on this team when Miguel and Vimar start going away, you know. So I don't want to give up on the guy too soon, you know.
no, I wouldn't give up on
Because
him.
as Roger said, we don't have no depth, man. You know, we don't have, and I don't think Avila's the type of guy that's going to start trading all these guys away and then kill that depth even more. You know, I think we have to bite the bullet and let these guys groom and keep them. You know.
Absolutely.
And I think his approach is already showing it's far different, and you guys can see it already a little bit with him not biting the farm. And you look at it too, especially with Boston, with John Henry, the owner of the Red Sox, said earlier this week, we're going away from analytics and sabermetrics, and Dombrowski's like, no. Well, we know your path, Dave Dombrowski. Come on, you know, and the lack of, you know, the fact that the Tigers had one guy last year, one guy that had sabermetrics, now they have 5 or 6. So I think his approach is going to be different. But get back to Nick for a second. You know, what you said was a good point. But it's going to take the pressure off of him. And I think ultimately too, excuse me, batting protection too as well. I think this guy's a natural hitter. I think he's just it's just too much of a mind thing right now with him. But the lack of depth right now is going to kill him. But what do you guys see more power out of him or more batting average for him this year?
If I had to pick between the two, probably batting average. Power hitting wise, it comes and goes with him. But I think if he can be more consistent, I'd like to see him be the kind of guy who puts a little blooper over second base more than trying to hit a home run all the time.
Yeah.
You know, just get on base. That's all. That's your job.
They use the ballpark to your advantage.
Of course.
They don't use this ballpark to their advantage. That's
No,
what
they
kills
don't.
me about the Tigers.
What about you?
No, they don't, and I don't know that he's really the kind of player that to use the ballpark.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
as much as I'd like to say average, I don't know that I see that out of him. I know if he's solid in the field and we can get a little more pop, I think that's what we can get out of him. And I mean, that's what we maximize the player. I think that's probably where it is. I mean, he's gonna get his streaks. The key is when he's struggling at the plate, he's gonna have to, flush it out and not let it affect him in the field. So I think sometimes that's he doesn't let the pressure gets. I don't want to say the pressure. It's hard to say that because he's a Major League Baseball player. Like you were saying, they were all the best guy on the field
Right,
at some
growing
point
up,
in
for
their life.
sure, dude. They're all
And
stars.
that's not anything new to them. But, I think when he has a bad at batting, go on the field and forget about it, and that's something you do. He said he's 23. Might not do that at 23. Maybe he does that coming up, and that'd be a big improvement.
He's got the body to hit. He's got the body to hit like 30, 35 bombs though. I think he just needs to get it together.
I think so.
I would settle for 18 homers in that back end
Well,
of the
he hit
lineup.
more than 18 this year. How many he hit? He had,
Did he have over 20?
oh yeah, I believe he did.
Well, to me, if he's been, 7, 8, 9, if he can be the power catalyst in that back end of the lineup, setting us back up for the top of the table, the 1, 2, 3 hitters, I'm happy with that. Be steady in the field, no dumb plays, make all the routine plays. Because you got to realize too, with Iglesias at short, he's not gonna have to go to his left hopefully that often. Iglesias can get deep in that hole and get somebody out, so he just gotta protect his line, protect the foul line, play smart in the field,